Sega.
Hello and welcome to another video for Total War Warhammer. My name is Joey Dalton and I'm joined by Darren McNally, who has already played this Battle of Altdorf.
Yes, so this is a unscripted custom battle. It's a siege, and I'm playing as the vampire counts against the Empire. So we thought we'd just give you an unscripted siege so that you can see exactly how it plays out. I've actually gone for a little bit more troops than normal. I've gone for around 24, and I think the enemy have about 26. So this is Altdorf. It's a beautiful looking city. I've chosen a lovely nice day to show off the units in really good lighting. The new lighting changes have gone in since the preview build, so the game is looking absolutely gorgeous now, and they're still continuing to tweak the lighting and add more lighting environments so that we can get like more variation out of it. So as you can see, it looks really, really nice.
I mean, we're still in development, so it's worth noting that there may be changes from what you see here, but nothing too significant. Magic is something that has also changed slightly. It's stronger than it was before, but we'll talk through that more when we see it happening on the screen. I mean, as we look through Altdorf, the city is massive.
Yeah, it stretches on for miles. Now, the playable area is a little bit smaller than that, but the visual fidelity of the city is still just as good even in the distance. You can have a little zoom in and have a look at it. It looks really, really pretty. But basically, we're fighting up against one wall on one side of the city, and we're going to make a breach through that, and we'll get to that anyway when we're done panning around. I just thought it would be worth showing some of this lovely architecture. It's worth mentioning that I've already played through this battle. We're not live playing it right now. We're commentating over the battle that I played myself. So I just had a little pan around the city to show off some of the fantastic work that our artists have been doing, absolutely down to the finest details. I love this building I'm coming up on here, the skull with the wreath on it. It looks amazing.
There's always skulls in Warhammer, Darren, always.
Yeah, they're embroidered everywhere, literally everywhere. So yeah, it just looks really, really nice, the lighting, the lovely sky details and stuff. It's also worth mentioning we're not playing on the highest graphics, we're playing on roughly around high, not on ultra. We thought we'd tone it down just a little bit so that people could see generally what most people should be able to kind of play as. And also give you a good level of detail. The troops are on the highest detail though. So here we are backing out. These are the siege towers and the zombies there at the back of them.
So there's bones and coffins embedded in their towers. That's some brutal, scary towers right there, I think.
Yeah, it's really nice detail. They're kind of made of like stone muck, and yeah, it's really like it's been pulled out of the ground and just bones and things like that. So it's very, very nice, very cool looking indeed.
There's some dense zombie units here as well.
Just shambling forth, just waiting to take the city.
They're a very slow unit. I mean, when I tend to play myself, I'll push them forward first because they're expendable, very squishy, but they take a while to chew through. Oh,
yeah.
Here's Heinrich.
So here's Heinrich Kemmler. I decided to play as this guy because we haven't really showed him off yet too much. His clothes are made of skin.
See the faces and the hands?
That cloak at the front. It's pretty grim.
Stylish.
So something I thought worth mentioning is that he has an augment spell, a kind of constant ability that's always going around himself, called the Curse of Undeath. And that, as you'll see when I'm casting spells, that they'll actually heal troops around him. So any troops that are around him, they automatically get healed when he casts the spell for a short amount of time. Just in case people are wondering why that's going on when you see it. And this is a new addition as well. It's the spell browser. This is an offline kind of mini encyclopedia just for spells, and you can see the different lores of magic and then the spells that are attributed to those lores. So it's a great way to preview your spells before you go into battle and see what you want to use and what you think might be most relevant.
We'll be looking closer into the spell browser soon, but yeah, I think it's an excellent feature, especially those that are new to both Total War and Warhammer, really, because it's a big addition.
So here we've got some Graveguard. These are pretty good. They're armoured and shielded. They're anti-infantry. They're your kind of, not high tier, but mid-tier sword infantry that can do pretty good damage. And then these are the kind of higher tier version of them, the Graveguard with great weapons. You can see they're tall, rusted metal swords. They're basically armour-piercing troops that are really good, like straight over the walls and stuff like that. Moving on, we have the Skeleton Warriors. These are more your medium to low tier kind of sword infantry, just your standard melee infantry. They're pretty cool looking. They got glowing skulls and they're really rickety and bony and stuff.
So they're skeletons,
cool.
Darren.
They are skeletons. And then, yeah, speaking of skeletons, we got more over here. We got the Spearmen variation of the Skeleton Warriors. So yeah, so obviously these guys are use spears. They're good against like cavalry and anything kind of large.
They're quite fast.
Yeah,
for
they're
skeletons.
quite fast. Yeah, they run pretty quickly. And then behind them we have Crypt Ghouls. These are one of my favorite units. interesting, it says cudgel infantry.
Wow.
That must be the type of weapon that they're using. Basically, they do have poison attacks, and that will slow down your enemy and deal more damage. And they're damage dealers, so they really pack quite the punch. Similar to the Karn race.
Yes, these are an ethereal unit. They're floating, so they don't suffer any terrain changes as a result of, well, floating.
Yeah, they completely ignore the terrain, I think. So yeah, they're pretty cool. They got massive scythe infantry, so that's really cool. Really good against armored targets as well, because they have those sharp scythes to cut through things. Then over to the cavalry, we have Black Knights. These are one of my favorite units. You'll see during the battle they pack a huge punch when they charge into the enemy. They just look really cool because even the horses are made of skeletons and things like that. So yeah, they're awesome. And then they have the variation, which is the shock variation infantry, or shock cavalry. They have lances, so the Black Knights with lances and barding. So a little bit more armoured, and then pack even bigger punch, and they're very fast when they move. They get tired kind of quickly though, as we'll see in the battle.
There's some fellbats over here. These are, again, kind of expendable, just a distraction tactic. That's typically how I use them, just to kind of slow down any artillery or ranged units that are hammering down on me, because the vampire counts don't have any ranged units.
Yeah.
So it's difficult sometimes to take heavy fire, especially on one of the opposing races.
Yeah, it literally says they are expendable as well, which is exactly how you should be thinking about them. Very cheap.
Oh, look at these guys.
So these are the Crypt Horrors. Really big, nasty, kind of troll-like, monstrous infantry.
Very high weapon strength.
Yeah, they have, and they can also regenerate. So slowly they'll heal over time, and combined with Heinrich Kemmler's ability, if you keep them next to him, you can keep them kind of going. Very, very powerful. Pack quite a punch getting through. So that's basically our entire army. Now I'm just putting different units into the siege towers and kind of placing them around. You do it in the kind of standard way you did it in previous games. You just left click your infantry, right click the equipment you want them to use, and then position them as you would a normal unit. So my strategy basically here is, I'm on the right side of the settlement. I could go, approach it from all sides, or approach it from the complete line if I wanted to, but I've decided just to focus on one side and really punch through just one part of the gate and get over the walls. Something that's really interesting is that this is a level 4 city settlement, which means that the towers are extremely powerful. As you'll see, they kind of take out, towers do a lot of damage very quickly, and their range is the complete deployment zone that I have. So basically, if I sit as far back as I can, I'm still going to be in range of their towers.
So even at the furthest point of your deployment zone, they can still get you.
Yeah, so you have to make a move for the walls as quick as possible so that you have the best chance of getting over.
Darren's top tips.
Damn right. So here we have the Crypt, taking a lot of damage there.
Oh.
Crypt Horrors I've sent running forward. I want them to get over the walls, just put down some ladders and hop over as quickly as possible, do as much damage straight over, kind of cause a huge amount of disruption. We can see the towers firing on my towers as they approach the front. The middle one is a little bit more forward, I think, than the others, and it's taking quite a bit of a hit, already at 43% damage, so
Ooh.
Taking a good few hits there. And also my Crypt Horrors are down to 105 men in the unit. If you pay attention to the UI, you get to see a lot of different things. The little blue indentations above the unit icons will tell you loads of different information actually when you get used to it, such as if they're taking damage, if they're running, if they're walking, if they're being buffed, if they're being debuffed, if they're in combat, if they're winning combat. Huge amount can be gleaned from just a glance.
So I'm a pause player, so that's definitely something that I feel is worth pausing and taking in if you're playing a battle for the first time. Oh, that tower's gone.
Yeah,
it's
so
gone.
Just lost the tower, which is pretty significant when you only have 3. Now I've only 2 ways over the walls quickly, and the rest I'll have to use ladders. My Crypt Horrors were actually, I kind of looked away because the towers went down, but they were accused. The enemy has a witch hunter in here in the settlement, and they're after casting the spell to accuse them, which is doing a huge amount of damage. It's brought them down to about half strength. They were a little bit damaged because they had taken some tower fire, so now they're down to 51 in the unit. And we're finally just starting to get over the walls. I noticed that the Hellstorm rocket battery is firing over the walls, so I decided to deploy my bats, and I'm going to seek them out. They're there in the center. They're next to a mortar as well that's firing, so again, like you said, just using them as an expendable, just distraction force. I'm just going to send in the bats. They look absolutely amazing as they come in as well. Straight into the town center just to disrupt the enemy and stop them firing. You'll notice that as they fire, they even hit my bats as well. So that should work.
Well, at least it's keeping them occupied for now, so you can kind of focus your efforts on the more immediate issues.
Also, I forgot to mention, the towers can only face fire outwards. So once you get on the walls, you're actually relatively safe from them. And if you capture a tower like I have with my crypt towers over there, that tower will stop firing. So now on the right side, it's actually like a lot safer for me to be on. So I start shifting some of my focus over that way. And my battering ram now has the should be safe to get to the gate.
Oh dear, they're not doing well.
Yeah, so they got accused again, a second time, almost down to like 13 men in the unit now, or monstrous infantry. I guess they're not really men, but maybe they were once. I'm
Maybe
not sure.
they were once.
But basically, they're a really, really good unit, and they were completely destroyed just as they got to the walls. So I think in future it's probably best to use your zombies to try and hop over first, and then maybe they'll get the spells attached to them or something.
You've kept some units at the back there. Is that intentional? Are you saving them?
Well, sort of. I don't want the enemy to cast a vortex spell on me and just suddenly wipe out everyone. So I try to keep them spaced out and keep some time. Like the cavalry obviously has no way in at the moment, so I keep them really far back.
So you're going in stages, basically. Once the gates are open, then you're going to pull the rest in.
Yeah. So I made a small little. Even though there's only a few guys in that unit, they have captured that tower, and now I'm getting over the walls with zombies on other sides, and I'm starting to push through. I put my grave guard with the great weapons on the walls to do the most damage, and they're holding their own quite well up there. Taking a bit of damage, and mortar fire is still coming in from the city a little bit now that the bats are dying off. But yeah, it's like I'm making good progress, I think, on the wall. So I decided to cast a hex here. It's the Curse of Years. So basically this hex does minus 24 melee attack, minus 24% speed, and plus 15 ability recharge. So basically everything in that zone of control that you can see on the UI, that blue radius, is going to receive that hex, and that allows my troops to do more damage to them, basically.
The descriptive text is quite bleak, actually. It says, the wizard spits out an ancient curse, causing his enemies to age at an incredible rate, their hair turning white and their skin shrivelling up. And that's pretty harsh, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty grim. So yeah, they're basically all turning to old men dying, essentially is what's happening there. Also, you'll notice at the gate, the AI has actually completely covered the gate with 2 units, a spear unit and a greatsword infantry unit. Greatswords are immensely powerful units, and I've decided to cast a buff spell to my guys on the walls. They're actually suffering a little bit of crumbling. You can see their flag is like kind of, there's a red particle effect around it, so I've tried to buff them. I think the spell was Van Hel's Dance Macabre.
Friendly targets are filled with magical energy, making them even more aggressive.
Yeah, so that's 24% speed and 24 melee attack. Obviously, these stats could be completely changed by release. They were still feeling out the balancing of magic at the moment. But it's at a pretty good stage now where you definitely notice the effects.
So Van Hel's Dance Macabre is kind of like, it's a target 1 ally, so I would generally use it on a lord, a legendary lord, or a hero, because magic is really relative. If you're not using it for its intended purpose, it's not going to do much for you. And ultimately, if you use it for the wrong purpose, it can backfire in a big way. So
completely.
Undeath Resurgent is one that's kind of a bit more of an AoE, which it's good for general units, especially kind of all piled in together.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. You'll see me using that a lot later, and it doesn't. The interesting thing about that one is it doesn't actually pull from the Winds of Magic, so you just kind of get that for free. That is like Heinrich Kemmler's ability.
Well, you're not doing too badly here. You're kind of chewing through the wall.
Yeah, it's taken a while. It's definitely a bit of a grind on the walls. We're grinding them down, though, and they are using their gunners on the ground to fire up at me constantly. The longer I'm on the walls, the more exposed I am up here, so I need to just kind of get the walls over and done with and get down.
But the gates are open.
The gates are open. My crypt horrors are trying to punch through their spearmen. And it's going to be tough because spearmen are good against large, and I've put large against them, which isn't a good idea, but it'll take a while. They're a pretty powerful unit, and they've actually broken now, so we've just gotten into the city a bit more, a bit deeper, basically.
Well, you are taking a lot of fire, though, and this is the struggle that I tend to have with the vampire counts, is just the amount of fire that you can take and not do much back until you've got your units in there. And with such a mixture of fast and incredibly slow units, you really have to pick and choose what you get in first. Oh, Kemmler's down.
Kemmler's down. I brought him down on the ground now. There's a massive pile of infantry down here, so I thought it would be perfect time to use the Wind of Death. So I've cast it there on this unit. Again, I was hoping that it didn't double back on me, which it doesn't. And it blows, absolutely tears through those units, throws them all around the place.
Oh, that's awesome.
And some of them get back up, but a lot of them stay down. Because this unit was basically a fresh unit when I cast the spell. It's not going to kill too many, but it does a huge amount of damage. Then I cast the Hex again, the same one I used before, just to lower the just to lower their melee attack and their speed, so I can just cut them down before they run back to the city. There's a lot of missile troops there, and that's why I want to slow them down and cut them down before they can get back.
You can nicely see the area of effect it will have there as well.
Yeah, actually I kind of casted it a little bit badly because the area of effect moved forward because I casted it on one unit that ran forward. I should have casted on the ones that stayed back, and then it would have had a more broad effect. But actually, as they move back, it's slowly taking effect on those guys now. So I was bringing my cavalry into the city now. Now that the gates are open and I've kind of cleared a path, it's time to bring all my Black Knights in, bring them around the back of the city, and then cut down like these archer units and these gunners. So my monsters infantry, the crypt ghouls, the crypt horrors, are now pushing up on the big unit. I decided to activate the kind of the free ability essentially. What was it called? The Undeath Resurgence. Sorry, I'm still learning my lore, of course. Doing that gave me extra speed and extra melee attack for my monsters infantry, just to cut them down and catch up to them really fast as well. So it can be really powerful when you stack them on top of like powerful units like that.
I love its descriptive text. Arise! Do not falter! Do not crumble! Back to life once more.
Yeah, it gives you more leadership. So giving you more leadership will basically mean that so leadership is what morale is what replaced morale for the vamps.
Yes. Yeah.
So if your leadership reaches 0, then you begin to crumble, and if it goes down really fast or below 0 by a lot, then you crumble even faster and your units will break apart and die.
It also gives an impressive buff to melee defense as well as melee attack, but I think defense is its key kind of function there.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a last stand thing.
Yeah.
And the descriptive text basically reinforces that.
Again, learning a lot about the magic laws for each of your races, depending on which you choose for your campaign, is very important because they are each for an intended purpose. So do be careful when you're picking and choosing your magic, which you can do in these skill trees as well.
I noticed that they just caused some sort of casted some sort of hex on Heinrich himself. I think it was actually an accused from the witch hunter, because his health has gone down to halfway now, and I mustn't have noticed that at the time actually. But I was going to say, you want to never leave him on his own like that, because Heinrich isn't like a great fighter, he's a wizard. He's kind of meant to stay back, be protected, and cast his spells. He will regenerate over time though, the more he casts spells, so he'll probably be okay, but I've kind of left him out in the open there, and that's something as well you don't want to do too much of.
He's more of a support legendary lord, I would say, than whereas, Manfred's definitely able to handle his business solo.
He's got like a weapon, like a sword on another one as well, basically, so he's well up for combat. I just wanted to mention these charge impacts are really, really greatly improved since previous games. They just look really good. They don't take too much of a run up either. They only need maybe like 10 or 20 meters, and they suddenly like have this massive impact. It's really, really satisfying to use them. You
can also see there's lots of kind of units rather than going down different streets there as well. But I mean,
that's basically my own fault. I could have taken the different avenues, but we've kind of bunched up a bunch of my troops together. I'm trying to keep them together because they're all about to crumble. Like that's what that red particle effect around their flags is. So basically I've taken a lot of losses getting over the walls, so I just don't really have the manpower to bring troops around different ways. I tried it with my cavalry. My spearmen are only just getting over now. In fact, they just got cursed or accused again by the witch hunter, but here he is here. I finally found him and we've engaged him over there, so we should be able to take him out. 2 units versus just a single entity unit like that should do okay. So we're just pushing into the center of the town now. We really have very, very little left, so I'm just constantly activating these kind of buffs to try and help out my units. We're grinding through with our monstrous infantry, that like kind of stack of units over there. My cavalry is now free to push around on the back. Here's a good example of good AI. There's an archer unit and a spear unit, and they send the spear unit forward and the archer unit back. Obviously it's a tiny spear unit at this point, and I actually keep the charge going into the second unit behind it, and the impact stays there. So that's a really nice example of like how cavalry is much more impactful in this game. Especially vampiric cavalry. They have high charge bonus. It always looks really, really good. So I freed up the kind of main avenue. All the avenues now are kind of freed up into the city, except for the one big one to the right.
You do look like you're kind of pushing forward into the middle a lot better with your different units, so I think you're kind of damage controlling really well. Yeah,
at this point I was thinking like, okay, I actually might be able to win this. A lot of them are actually running away. There's a couple units left that are a little bit of a high threat.
Wait, at this point, Darren, do you lose?
Well, we'll see.
We will see.
So the witch hunter is there. He's about to rout as well. He's taking a huge amount of damage. He's actually bogged down 2 of my units, which is really annoying. It would be great if I could bring them here. And constantly we're seeing these UI messages that says a unit has been wiped out. So Doesn't look too good, but I still have hope. The bar is at 50-50.
And
cavalry's coming
Heinrich's
into
getting his
steady.
health back as well.
Yeah, he is. So here's the general of the other army. It's Balthasar Gelt. I never really mentioned him or zoomed in on him, but he did cast some spells from the Lore of Metal that you might have noticed in the beginning. He cast one on the siege tower early on, actually. So here he is in the center, kind of the rally point for all his troops. And I've put Heinrich directly against him in combat, which probably isn't a good idea, but they are both kind of wizards, not really meant for combat as much. So it'll be interesting to see who kind of comes out on top.
Oh, Heinrich's health is going down though.
Yeah, he is. It's quite low. Not gonna lie. The green VFX, you can see every time you cast a spell they're healing, but the red VFX is the crumbling mechanic. So it's really an all-out ditch effort to try and like see if we can just if I could kill Balthasar, I think I could win. But the Demigryph Knights are surrounding me as well, and they're after throwing Heinrich on the ground. And I've activated one more Undeath Resurgence just to buff everybody. You can just see all the magic that's kicking off at the moment. Balthasar is activating his spells as well.
He's gone.
And unfortunately Heinrich goes down.
Look how quickly the crumble takes effect there.
And as soon as he goes down, the whole army completely crumbles. And that's it. So it was very, very close in the end. It was a valiant defeat.
But it was valiant, Darren.
It was. We got right to the centre, but we just couldn't pull it off in the end.
So that was the Battle of Altdorf. I think you did pretty well. It was a valiant defeat, but it was still valiant.
Yeah, so it was quite close. I could have done a few things to help. I think losing a siege tower early on was a bit disappointing. I think maybe bring the bats up to kind of soak up some of the fire is probably what I'd do next time, or maybe make sure the crypt ghouls get over the walls this time, reinforcing them with zombies and things like that. So there's a few things I could have done differently, gone down some different streets to kind of approach from different angles as well.
Any units you would have changed?
Well, it would always be nice to get, like, you know, Vargeists or a Vargulf in there, but I thought, you know, we'd go for kind of more earlier units to kind of balance it out a little bit more and just see how it goes. I had one monstrous unit, and I kind of paid the same for both armies in terms of gold, so it was quite balanced. I just couldn't do it.
Just couldn't do it. Well, the roster for the vampire counts is now on the wiki, so have a look and let us know what your army would be in the comments. The link is in the description, and thanks for joining us. Like and subscribe this video and stay tuned for more videos on Total War Warhammer. Thanks guys, and join us next time.
See ya.